Right. So, good afternoon, everyone. So, in today's class, we'll study about working with hashing in DBMS. Right. So, you would have studied hashing in other courses, right? So, are you familiar with hashing?
We haven't had it in normal course, we had it in honors.
Right. Right. So, we'll see some examples for hashing. How hashing can be used to uh, identify the location of a record in a disk without using index structure. Right. So, in here in DBMS, we are using a hashing, which is an effective technique to calculate the direct location of a data record on the disk without using index structure, right? So generally use indexing to retrieve the records in a faster way. So index structure consists of a search key as well as a pointer to the particular record, right? So in addition to indexing, we can also use hashing to calculate the direct location of a record on your disk, right? So hashing, it uses hash function with search keys as parameters to generate the address of a data record, right? So hashing can be used to generate the address of a record where it can be stored for retrieval. Also, we can use hashing, right? So in generally in a hash organization, we have some keywords like bucket, hash function, and so on. So bucket, generally a hash file stores data in a bucket format, right? So the data is stored in a bucket like a format. So bucket is considered as a unit of storage. A bucket typically stores one complete disk block, right, which in turn can store more records. So you all know that block is a like it's a small piece of logically addressable memory that can be used to store records. So generally, so a bucket typically stores one complete disk block, right? So bucket can be used to store one complete disk block, which can store one or more records, right? And what do you mean by a hash function? So it's a mapping function that maps all the search keys to the address where the records are placed, right? So it's a function from search keys to bucket address, right? So given some key, it will map to bucket address, right? So let me or yeah, right. So we have different types of hashing, namely static hashing, dynamic hashing, and so on. So static hashing, the resultant data bucket address will always the same, right? So whenever you apply static hashing, the resultant bucket address, which contains the block of records, will always remain the same. So for example, you generate address for yes any student with ID 10, right? So we are going to use a hash function, mod3 function. So the resultant of the bucket address will be 1. So it means that the ID 10 corresponds to the bucket 1, which contains the information about the student 10, right? 10 mod 3 is going to be 1. So the idea behind starting hashing is that the resultant data bucket will always remain the same for a particular input. Hence, in static hashing method, the number of data buckets in memory will always remain constant, right? So you are going to apply a function. In this case, we are going to apply a function mod3. So given some input, you are going to apply mod3 function. So for example, student ID 12 mod3 will be 0, right? So the resultant bucket address will be 0. So that we'll be storing the student 12 into the bucket 0, right? So just we are going to apply some function. You are going to give some input. For the input, you are going to generate the address, the bucket address where the particular record is stored within the block,